Here I am, Leon C, aka Morpheus, and it's part two to finish what we was talking about before. I'm trying to get this right for you. And I'm going to only answer two of the emails that I'm going to go ahead and get right into the subject that you already see on the title. Continuing what we talked about as far as parents raising their kids up differently and they're being taught differently at schools. Got an email, funny, by cultural differences in interracial relationships. And another question. So I think it might tickle y'all to talk about this interracial relationship thing. Got an email from a black lady named, I'm not going to say, S. Carl. And she asked me, she said, Mr. Morpheus, you say that a lot of black girls are an enigma, are difficult. Maybe you have not tried hard enough, or maybe you haven't looked into the right places to find them. What can you say about this? Because I feel like you dating outside of your race might be a default, and it could be wrong against your own race. Okay, S. Carl. I'm going to answer it for you, and maybe it's going to empower everybody else. I'm pretty sure everybody's tired of hearing about interracial relationships. And they didn't come to this channel for that. They came to the channel to hear about the subject about marriage crisis. But we're going to talk about that, and it might help them and answer this other emailer as well. Okay? Very simple. When you are dealing with anyone, you give them a chance. You give them an opportunity. You deal with them for only a short amount of time, and you got to keep it moving. With your life and your time, you don't want to waste time waiting for the right person that's supposed to be the right person for you. Okay? Now, when it comes to black girls or brown sisters, whatever you want to call yourselves, okay, I have always loved them. I have always gave them respect, and I've always gave them a blank sheet of an opportunity. Okay, without bias, without what anybody else says. Okay, it's just that most of them, on a general basis, they begin to prove what everybody else say about them as far as attitude, as far as not want to comply herself, about being, you know, headstrong unnecessarily, about being loud. You know, all those things is what she have brought to the table, not what I have created for her or from her. This is the things that she decided to do. And as a man, I'm not going to sit up here and wait for the right person. I'm not going to sit up here and waste my time trying to produce or try to be with somebody that's supposed to be, because I don't chase. I don't ask for numbers. I don't put myself in a position where I feel as if I need to chase her or I feel I need to get her attention. You see what I mean? We are not at that time in this country, and we should not be in that type of situation where women are talking about they want equal rights. They want to be equal. They want to be like men. They want to be just like me. So I feel as if she were out there, Miss S. Carl, then I would have found her by now. Okay? No, I'm not that old. Okay? And I haven't been around for that long, but I've been around long enough to know that a man shouldn't waste his time, and he shouldn't waste his time chasing. So if they were interested, if they had the opportunity, and it's like a battle. You know, it's like you want to be on the winning team. The winning team is the one who's just going to win. The losing team is the one who don't have the right strategy. They don't have the right game plan. They're not organized. You know, they just don't have the skill for it. You know, either I'm gonna say like what a wise person told me: either you have it or you don't. It's as simple as that. It has nothing to do with Morpheus. It have nothing to do with me. Okay? If they wanted to step up to the plate and bat, you know, they always have had free will to do so. They always had free opportunity to do so. If they feel like they can make a home run, swing as hard as you can. Unfortunately, my dear friend, the general population of black girls don't do that. And they feel like it's against them to do that, and practically below them to do that. Okay? So it has nothing to do with what I'm doing, it's what they're doing with their free will. And because of that, every other culture or every other woman steps up to the plate on her own, and she bats, and she does it quite well. Now, second emailer. Now, y'all trying to get me in trouble with these questions, but I'm going to answer them as best as I can. Okay. Is America a racist country? That's a very, very big topic, a very big subject. Okay. I will look at it like this. Regardless of how we see its foundation, regardless of how it intermingles itself, regardless of whether we call it races or not, when you go home, you have a responsibility to your family. You have a responsibility to what you do with your own culture, with your own race, with your own idea. See, if you're sitting down, okay, I put it like this. You are trying to build a future for your children, and you're trying to build an infrastructure for your culture or your family or whatever that you consist of, whatever you desire to be the future. Your job is to make it. That's your job. Okay? A lot of cultures that talk about how America is a racist place are those whose, let's say we're sitting in this big sandbox. Okay? Picture this. And we're all sitting in this sandbox. Okay? The one who's complaining is usually the one who's sitting there and they got a shovel and they got a pick of a sort to create this sandcastle, and they're sitting there looking at everybody else. They're like, oh, look at them. Oh, Tommy's building. Oh, look at this person. Oh my God, look, they're building that. All the while, listen, they're not building themselves. Okay? Even if the sandcastle was rigged, okay? Even if somebody comes across and they kick your sandcastle over because they want to be the one to establish the sandcastle before you, okay? The loser is the one who, it's like this, stays down. Shame on you. Shame on them if they kick your sandcastle over. But shame on you if you allow your sandcastle to stay down and dismantle. So what you do is, yeah, you'll be upset for a little while. Yes, you'll be out of whatever resources or potential that you may have at the time. But regardless, you still got to get up, and you still got to make that sandcastle regardless and try to build it up as best as you can. If someone comes along and kicks it down and you allow it to stay down and you don't do anything for yourself, then there's no need for you to argue about what everybody else is doing, because everybody else is building their sandcastle. Everybody else have dealt with the situations before. It may not have been as dramatic as other cultures, but they are still building, and that's the thing. The thing is building. Yes, there's been a bad past. Yes, we've had issues. Yes, there's been turmoil all over the place, and there may be hidden systems. There may be organizations that I'm not going to get into on this video. My job to empower you is to tell you not about what is. Well, it is to tell you about what is, but not tell you about what was, but to tell you what you can do with what is. If all those things you think is in play and is in the focus of America, okay, that general idea and focus is focusing on the wrong direction and area. You need to be focusing on what you are doing. What are you doing? That's the question. Yes, you asked me, is America racist? What yes or no does nothing for you. To say yes isn't going to help you. To say no isn't going to help you. What's going to help you is when you pick up your shovel and you pick up your tools and you start building. Okay, you start putting yourself together, because no matter what happens to you, when you are in a boxing match, somebody knock you down, you still going to have to get up. Okay, or in wrestling, if they pick you up and they body slam you, okay, and they tap you 1, 2, 3, then you're out. Your whole task is to keep them from tapping you out 3 times, so you got to get back up and get back in the game. So we need to stop talking about what everybody else is doing, stop looking at everybody else's sandcastle, and start building yourself up. Now, that was the only 2 emailers that I need to respond to. Now, getting to it. Marriage crisis. Very simple. The marriage crisis is this. We're not comprehending what marriage consists of. Marriage consists of only realistically 2 things. It wasn't like what it used to be. There's only 2 things now. It's a financial construct. Financial construct. Okay? And two, it's usually a step to do something else, whether it may be to be valid by somebody's inheritance program. It could be to pass on your proceeds to another person. Still, it's still finances, regardless how you look at it. So you can have legal rights to this person, your insurance, life insurance, all these things is connected into marriage, which is the second most thing. But the first most thing is obvious. It's just plain money. It's just for a contract. That's all it is. Marriage gets in the way of your real reason for being with that person. And I'm going to go down a list that I've written why marriage is in such a crisis. Okay. First of all, people are getting married too young. That means you know nothing about life yet, but yet you want to get married under the age of 25. Even if you're 26, some of you still don't know what marriage is. Okay? We're getting married too young. Okay? You have to love life first. You have to know life first. Comprehend yourself first before getting involved in type of something that's serious. Why not just be in a relationship? Which is a teaching fact that I'm going to get into in just a moment here. Number two. Yes, I'm going to harp on you college students. Getting married straight out of college because you've met somebody that have equal interest, or you've been fascinated by somebody that might be on the same subject that you might be on. Yes, I'm going to tell you that is wrong, because I have spoken to many relationships, and most of them do fail, okay, eventually straight out of college. Because you're thinking that that's your very basic foundation, and then you think marriage is an idea, so you end up with that person, you end up stuck with that person. Then guess what? Evolution comes and kicks you right in the butt and kicks both of y'all right out of the playing field, because you did what everybody else was doing and is doing. You did what you thought was the most logical thing to do, marrying straight out of college. Okay, and you find yourself in divorce 13, sometimes 12 years later, and sometimes sooner than that, because you're thinking it's the right thing to do. And I'm going to talk on that in just a little bit. I'm going to expound on that just a little bit if you got a question mark. The other thing is church. A lot of people get married because of church, because their religious background. They think it's better to just go ahead and marry because that's what the Christian church wants you to do. Because your religion says if you don't have a wife, then you're not going to be accepted in any important position. Okay? Or because you don't want to be looked at as a sinner in your God's eyes. So you decide to get married, and now y'all are suffering for it today. It's amazing how marriage is such an important thing, but it just tears apart, right? It just, like a cookie. It just breaks apart, just crumbles, right? But it's supposed to be an establishment by your God. Wow. I'm going to expound on that too a little bit too. Next, and not really the last, but it's most interesting. Because you love them, that's why. You get married because you love them. I'm going to talk about that right now, straight out of the gate from Morpheus. Because y'all look for me to say something that's different. That's why you look at this channel, because you know it's for empowerment. As Morpheus, my task that you give me is to give you something that other people aren't giving you, or to give it to you differently in this big red pill form, where when you swallow it, you're gonna be like, oh my God, oh man, this is tart, this is different. You look to me for that. So it inspires me to deliver you something that you probably already know, but you need to know it differently. Or if you don't know it, then that red pill is going to choke you real big time. Okay? If you love that person, why are you marrying them? If you have to marry that person to prove that you love them, as I've discussed in my other videos, if you've been following me, as you should have been, okay, then that means you really don't love them. Yes, I said it. If you marry them, that means you really don't love them. Because marriage is not the foundation of a real relationship, my family, my American family. Okay? Morpheus said that marriage is not the foundation of true relationship and love. Because if you love that person, you don't need a piece of paper or contract or the state or some minister to tell you that you need to be in love with this person. You tell them your vows every single day when you wake up in the morning, if they're still with you. When you're giving them letters, you're telling them every day, baby, I love you. I care about you. I'm going to be with you. And sometimes you don't have to say it. Just do it. Anything that's real, like air, it don't need to prove itself. Just like truth doesn't need to prove itself. It's just going to be. Why are you getting married with that person if you love them? That means you're trying to confirm something that may not actually be there. And most times it fails. That's why the marriage rate is higher than 60%. Because y'all love me. Oh, let's get married. Okay? No, let's ruin our relationship. That's what you're saying. Let's get the state involved. That's what you're saying. Let's get people involved in my personal relationship. The reason why college destroys or getting straight out of college, because, ladies and gentlemen, you're still developing. Ladies and gentlemen, you're still trying to understand what life is. You're still getting out into the fresh, broad, brand new world. Okay? And for you to think that you've learned something because you're in the American indoctrination camps and in other countries, okay, you're wrong. You have to experience yourself. You have to experience your life. If you sit there in college and you're just studying on the subject, and you're trying to focus on programs that was given to you from 12 to 12 o'clock, okay, you only got this little bitty room to experience real life, to experience yourself, to experience what's in the real world. And then you automatically get married? Ladies, men, you don't even know what marriage is. You don't even know, if you don't know who yourself is yet, how are you going to know what marriage is? Marriage is something that is going to be for the rest of your life. Especially if you have kids. That's a guaranteed 18-year period that you're going to have to be committed to your child. And then you wonder why you're miserable and you're looking for another marriage or relationship after the age 32. Stop looking for a marriage and looking for a real relationship. Looking for commitment. Just because you have sex with somebody, yeah, I'm going to put it out there, that does not mean, oh, I got to be committed to this person. We're going to be together for the rest of our lives. And, oh, I love you. No, you got a misconception, because all that good feeling gets to your head. It's a validation of dopamine and serotonin that becomes emitted through your neurological system that is produced by the interaction between you and your mate. Okay, they make it very basically and simple. Then you think, oh, because this person is giving me good sensation and energy, I need to be with them. Okay, wrong, because that person will change on you. And from my emailers and people that I've been talking to for a long time, it seems like it's a trend. And then you end up being in the recycle bin. Okay, after about 30 something years old, and then now you want to start all over again. And most of you get married again to ruin your relationship. Okay, gentlemen, don't get married. Okay, because marriage, I keep telling you, is not for you. It's for her. If she wants to get in the marriage bin again and again and again, that means she's looking for a paycheck. Okay, and she's getting that paycheck from you. Okay, you need to avoid it at all costs, because it's going to cost you. Okay, you still should be doing your career when you get out of college, not going into a marriage when you get out of college. You need to be focusing on yourself, building up your infrastructure, being the CEO or the boss or the owner or whatever idea that you plan on having. Then, after you get yourself settled down, not financially, that's one thing, because y'all get together financially and it still dies. This is why I'm talking to you about this. You need to get together you get together mentally by yourself, by discovering you. Read some books, learn what people are talking about marriage, study the marriage consequences, study the state that you're in, think about what you're getting into before you get into it. Have an open mind to learn you. Figure out your own feelings. Know what type of sexual avenues that you're interested. Know what type of diversity that your mind might be set on. Okay, know about your own history, your own focus points before you get into a real relationship, which should not involve marriage. If you want to be true to a person, just be with that person. Okay, you will have the church, which is the next thing. You will have the church. You have other people, those who have not been doing their research, People who are used to a traditional failure, which don't comprehend that it's not working for our American people here today, will tell you that they want you to stay in that relation, or they want you to get married because they say that you're living in sin if you're not married. You're not married, so you're living in sin. Really? So you can screw yourself. You know how many people you know how the people who are miserable, who are married today, and they don't want a divorce because he's afraid he's going to lose money, and she's afraid she's not going to find nobody like him. And they're both afraid that God's going to look at them differently if they get a divorce. They will convict you if you decide to live your own life. You got to comprehend that marriage is one of the biggest indoctrination failures and flops that ever existed in America, besides the lie of the Bible and the Christian faiths. Okay, beside, right next to it, you have marriage, because they try to compile that in it. It's amazing how when you marry somebody, there's always a preacher or a minister. And then when somebody's passing away, or there's a gravesite, when you're standing out there, there's a minister as well. Why would you want to minister for your marriage? You'd be like, scoot somewhere, gone somewhere with that. This is a personal thing between me and my boo. This is mine right here. And that's the thing that I'm getting into. It's yours. It's not the state's. It's not nobody else's. This person that you love is between you and that person. If you have a combination, see, I'm gonna tell you something that's Morpheus. Okay, let me put this aside because I'm going in on it. Okay, I'm going in on it. When you love somebody, that connection, that feeling that you have, when you begin to build a relationship between you and your God, when you have a direct line, in which you should, by taking the church and say, get out of the way, by taking religion and breaking its concepts, okay, by taking the lies that they have given you and flush it down the toilet, okay, that puts you in front. That puts you as the leader. That means you got to depend on your own mind. That means you have the ability to think for yourself. That means you have the ability to carve the world what you want it to be, which is what the real God wants from you, is to be like God itself. You understand? Nobody can control you when you already have the power of God. Nobody can make a slave out of you when you are the slave to nothing. Nobody can tell you what to do when you sit back and say, no, I'm going to do it because I want to do it, not because you tell me what to do. That's what you call real stability. That's what you call solid. That's what you call solid evidence of a foundation that will be unbreakable because it's on you. So when somebody say, who wrote this book? You can say, I wrote the book. Did you go to, oh, I seen it. Yeah, I know because I was there. I understand it because I did the research. Yeah, I crossed the T's. That's me that put the I on the I. I put the dot up there. Yeah, I did that. And then when you bring a relationship into it like that, okay, that harness, that perfected, honed relationship that you have with your God energy that gave you the power to be the girth that you are, okay, that's already a validation, especially when you have that feeling with that one person, male or female, and you know that they are right with you. Your heart tells you that they are right for you. Your spirit say they're right for you. Just standing next to them, you start glowing. You can't help but think about them all the time. You can see yourself with them all the time. They can be with you all the time, and everything is good for you all the time, regardless of the little misunderstandings you might have, or the little arguments that you might have. You can still see yourself with that person, no different than a marriage. So why would you want to screw that up? That's already a confirmation between you and your creator by building that energy and that bridge, that feeling, that connection that you have with that person to integrate with each other's spirit and soul. So therefore, it's already there. Therefore, you are already married to that person. At that time, listen, you have to be responsible to stick with your responsibility here now with this unity. You are responsible for now. The problem is a lot of people don't think for themselves. A lot of people aren't responsible for themselves. A lot of people still need somebody else to tell them who they are or what to do with their life. So therefore, they are irresponsible. So they need somebody to tell them, oh, be married with this one person. Be with them for the rest of your life because you can't be with nobody else. You're a sinner if you're not. Okay, and there was a statistic research that they say, only rich people get married or they stay married longer or something like that. Okay, and I did my little thoughts on it and did my little spin on it too, because some of it is a thinking factor. Because it's not hard, my American family. It's not hard. It's not hard at all. Most times, stupid people make stuff hard. Okay, it's like if you watch somebody trying to work on a car, for example, or just somebody doing something on art artwork. Okay, or you can go to school. Just sit next to somebody who's struggling trying to put mathematic equations together, and y'all all have a test, and it's like a 10-minute period type of thing. And usually the first person that get it done, our first few people, they just like, okay, all right, let me get it, boom, 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 and they just sitting there, okay, my test is done. It was easy for them because their mind was focused on. They figured out the simple problems and equations and plus and minuses and equals and all that. Okay, now the one who's still sitting there, they're struggling. They're just like, I can't understand. It's like, oh, I didn't do my math. I didn't study. I didn't know. So it's hard for them, okay, to comprehend. Marriage is not that hard. It's very, very simple. Okay, it gets complex when you put the state involved in your relation. It gets complex when you put religion in there. When you do it just because somebody saved you to do it. If not, they're going to be looking at you like this bad person or this so-called bed hopper because you don't want to be committed in a marital relationship by ring and paper financially with that person. They'll make you feel bad about it. You understand? When the simple thing is, it's already simple. You did your part, boom, boom, I'm done. I'm with this person. We've been together for like 12, 13 years. I mean, why would we need a wedding ring? Did you ever propose to her? No. Why? Well, we're already together. What are you talking about? Living together already? Some of y'all already got kids. I mean, 2 or 3. I mean, be done with you. Good. I mean, what are you worried about? Why complicate it? You did your test is done. Those who get into a marriage, by research, those are one of my biggest clients. You're absolutely right. Those are the ones who have the most biggest question marks. Those are the ones who always just don't know what the hell is going on with the world because they still like, I don't understand this. Like, I gotta get everything. I gotta do I gotta cross all my T's, dot on my I's, and everybody else have figured it out. Okay, and those are usually the ones who are financially struggling. Okay, there are 3 type of people that get married. Okay, let me just go ahead and get to the core of it because y'all just want, that's what you want from Morpheus. Okay, you want that from Morpheus's answers. Okay, one person is a person who can't live all by themselves. They can't think for themselves. They need somebody there with them. Okay, so they don't want to live a life of solitude. I put it like that, and figure out the world by themselves and all that type of stuff. They just feel like, oh, I don't want to be alone. I gotta have somebody. Usually those are females. Usually those are women. Usually the ones I've talked to are usually females. Okay. The second person is the guy who, and sometimes women too, who don't have a life. And the backlash about this is and it's not backlash on me, it's just that they hate that I'm telling you the truth, is this: when you have 2 trees that are growing up, you need to have a little root to yourself and space to yourself to figure out you. Okay, those roots of the tree go far into the ground sometimes, and it takes the nutrition out of the ground. Listen carefully. This is not to attack anybody who's married. Just listen. You always developing and you want to branch out and do other things. You want to grow and sprout apples. Okay. When you are together with somebody, okay, they take away your interest. They take away that time that you could be spending with yourself because you got to spend time with them. You got to spend time with the kids. You got to come home and do this. You got to come home and do that. So half of your day is cut off by them because now they're trying to sprout their tree, and we're not going to get to details of that. They're sprouting their roots as well in your same soil. Okay, so y'all sprout together, and most times that entanglement happens where you could actually just blossom further with your own, but you can't because you got to share the same nutrition with that person. You're the same tree trying to root to the bottom, and y'all struggling with each other. Okay, And usually at that time, this person, this dude or woman, okay, and most times the dudes who have already, most of them haven't lived their life yet. At 32, 33, not even barely 40 years old, or, in their 20s, 28, 27, they haven't really lived a full life. They haven't traveled the world. They haven't dated the most beautiful women. She haven't dated the right type of guy that she really wanted to be with her hypergamy. I'm not going to go there. Okay. So they only have lived their life. So they're actually practically, you are giving your freedom away. You're giving your real initial life away. You've given your self-discovery away. So what happens is, listen to me, my married couples, is this. Y'all start evolving with each other, and those branches start getting intermingled with each other. And you like, God, give me some room. Give me some space. I want to do this. I want to go here. And I'm still trying to develop. I'm still learning. And y'all start colliding with each other. Then that evolution continue to kick in where, listen, now you realize she's an orange tree. Now you realize you are an apple tree, right? So y'all can't really feed from the necessary nutrition underneath that soil at the same time, in the same season, in the same changes of the climate. So y'all end up switching and becoming topsy-turvy. You see what I mean? Then the conflict begins. So that's what I mean by him not having a life of himself, or her herself, because they bond themselves to that person. So the only thing that they could do is just break apart and has a divorce. Just divorce. Because I didn't do that research. Now the third person is one who want to give it a try. One who do know themselves. These people are a little bit of age. They've been there, they've done that. They have a feeling for a relationship, but they still don't comprehend that marriage is destructive and it's not the way to go. So they still like behind the times, not realizing that they don't need to marry the person, just be with them. But they felt like, well, what the heck, let's give it a try. Let me go ahead and propose to this person and make it so flashy, like in the middle of a race car track, or, in the middle of public, or maybe in a restaurant. This guy's like 30 something, 32, almost 41. They're like, well, we only got one life to live. And he gets on one knee. Mind you, what I always say, why ain't she getting on one knee? That same blue pill mentality, the guy serving her, it's just like, yeah, you said she'll be on her knees, huh? Okay, eventually. She'll do it eventually. Okay, I got that one. Okay. Anyway, check this out. So he gives marriage a try again. So he tried to engage it, but this time he's aware that there might be some consequences, and he's been in relationships before, and there's a slight chance that it might work. So therefore, those relationships have the potential to last just a little bit longer, because both those people have experiences, and he might have a little bit more experience of dealing with the marriage a lot better. Okay, so it lasts a little longer, substantial rift between and trying to grow up and develop outside of that person. Okay, so here's the thing that you'll say: no, Morphe is not against marriage. I'm not against it. I'm against the institution of marriage, and that it's a financial contract. Okay, if the state wasn't involved in it, and if it was just something that you can do out of show of realistic love, where you just want to just put a ring on somebody's finger because you love them, and a nice wedding dress because you love them, that would be a different story. But we are in a system, in an American dogma type of mentality, where we feel like in order to show our love, we have to give somebody an expensive gold ring and a dress. It's a false expectation where when you are with someone, you should be with them because you want to be with them. You should be with them because you want to love being with them. And as a naturalist, okay, and as you would discover in my other videos and by reading my book in the description box below, you will comprehend that I'm all about nature and basic. And when you have to put a ring on something to confirm something, that's not natural. If you have to have a group of people to stand around you because you have this bouquet in your hands and just, all that's, listen, if your love is not enough when you bring that to the table, if your presence is not enough, if you're not enough for her to be satisfied with, and she needs you to lavish her with gold and this big wedding and a wedding ring, and and stand in front of the magazine and, oh, look at this ring, it's bigger than my arm and hand. That's vanity. Okay, that's really not the core of relationship. And yes, there's been some who try to dispute me on this and try to argue the fact. I mean, it's not, there's no argument. What I tell you before, truth does not need to prove itself. If you really care about somebody, just show up for the party. That's all you got to do. When you show up for the party begins. If you got to bring this bouquet and you got to bring something to the party, they're not looking for you at the party. They look at what you can bring to the party. And that's what marriage is. It's not what you're bringing as yourself. You should be the one. You should just bring yourself, and that's it. But if you got to bring all these other things, this financial construct, you got to have this big white dress, all these flowers, and all this flash and flare. Don't you know, my American family, that if more than 60% marriages fail today because the society doesn't support it, I don't care what you say, do your research, pay attention, okay? Why would you spend so much money on an event that's going to collide anyway? And if it was really a spiritual connection between you and God, if it was really honored by your God and the creator of the universe, then why is it failing? Okay, and I know exactly what you're going to say. Well, because they don't have God in it. Because they don't have Christ in their life, because they didn't do it in the church. Yeah, I know what you're gonna say. Because maybe it's because they're too young, like you said. No. It's because that person didn't marry themselves first before marrying someone else. Marry yourself first by getting to know you first. Then you can bring somebody in your life. Once you appreciate you and you know who you are, you bring somebody else in your life to help you appreciate you and to appreciate who you are as you are also appreciating them. So therefore, you're not looking for somebody to validate you. You're looking for somebody to share your life. Once you love yourself, someone else can come along and help you love you by you loving them all the same. If most people don't love themselves, most people don't even know who they are. You see, it's not about God. It's not about religion. That just destroys it altogether. Most people are searching for something that they don't have within themselves, and they think you can find that in someone else. And because you expect for them to deliver it, okay, and when they don't deliver it but cause a collision in your life, then now you want to get rid of them. Because if you are solid where you need to be at, and you know who you are, and you're the front lighter as I described, then there will be no issue. Then you would not worry about how you all are grown, because your roots will be there. You will be a full-grown tree, and you will be substantiated. You would have a foundation to yourself. And that person can be just as well grown as you are, then y'all can be solid. But it doesn't happen that way because we are misinformed. And again, all these things play against us. So once we get into a reform of the traditions in this country and the real value of American life, the real value of what relationships are about, when y'all are taught right by the right leaders of what it means, instead of just being pushed out there to do it. Oh, they love each other. They're 21 years old. Let them marry. No, you need some elders to pull you back and say, wait a minute. Whoa, hold on, horsey. Wait a minute. I know you love them, but no. This is not the way to do it. Once we realize that when people get married, it's more or less like a death sentence, a prison sentence, than it is a life-changing situation that's to be blossomed, because it's rare that happens. It does, but it's rare. Okay, then we won't have to deal with things like that. And again, for you people, and I'm going to end this video with this, it's because the marriage crisis is because y'all getting together too young. It's because y'all getting together fresh out of college. It's because y'all bringing religion and church into your marriage, and it's because you really don't love them. Yes, you get married because you really don't love them. If you love them, why would you need the institution of marriage? Just be with them. You need to validate your love for them. If your creator brought you two together by the positive energy and y'all doing good, keep the good going. Because all evil wants to do, all the negativity, all this environment, all the negative devilish constitutions and these indoctrinations want to do is make money and drive a wedge between you and your natural unity between man and female. Think about that.